So maybe you're one of the many Lithuanians watching these videos, and you might think you have what it takes to be an ARAS team member. Well, if you are interested, here's what the basic requirements are.
Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we're checking out a video about the Lithuanian Special Police by the name of ARAS, or ARAS. So I guess they're basically just like one of their big counterterrorism police force. Now, I gotta say, kind of clicking through the video, it's cool because they give like a little bit of the historical background, which again, as we kind of see with a lot of these counterterrorism police forces, a lot of it is either out of necessity based off of like a specific attack, or a lot were kind of just made like in response to other countries experiencing this, like the 1972 Olympics terror attack. So it looks like this video has some pretty comprehensive coverage. It goes over their operations, their salaries, again, like the history, and then kind of just like the overall threats and requirements, which is going to be pretty awesome. I mean, for a 6-minute long video to cover all of that, especially being in English, seems like it should be pretty legit, especially being on a YouTube channel called Lithuania Explained. I would imagine and hope that they have like pretty good, maybe like insider knowledge as to, you know, this specific police force. But again, we've checked out a lot of police forces like this, and we always see like some nuances, which is always kind of cool to, you know, kind of discriminate those, pick those out, and kind of see maybe why they chose this. A lot of times, like if they're using different weapons, it's because like it's like a local weapon or a local manufacturer. But even like past that, tactics, equipment wise, it's interesting to see those nuances. So should be cool. I'm excited to check this one out. I don't think we've checked out any special police in a little bit, so let's go ahead and do it.
When it comes to these Lithuanians, you probably don't want to meet these guys while they're working their jobs. If that were to happen, it probably means something has gone terribly wrong, either for you or for people around you, or perhaps you're the one doing terribly wrong things.
Or maybe I got like the connection and I'm doing like this weird like YouTube gig, or even like in the military aspect, just kind of like training with them. That would be pretty legit. I really just want to train with some teams that have G36s, especially like the G36Cs. And aside from that, their training facilities always look pretty legit.
We're talking about the secretive Lithuanian group known as ARAS, otherwise known as Lietuvos Policijos Antiteroristinių Operacijų Rinktinė,
I like it. They're
or
repelling
Lithuanian Police Anti-Terrorist Operations Team.
They're
Since they
repelling
aren't
leg
exactly
bags.
military special forces and more under civilian police operations.
Okay, damn, these guys look way more modern than the guys we were just seeing. Holy cow, okay, so we got some nice dual tube night vision, high-cut helmets. Those suppressors look nice. I'm not sure what kind of weapon this is. It kind of looks like a SIG Virtus or like just some SIG MCX. Okay, I wonder if they're rocking 300 blackout with these then. I mean, gear looks pretty legit. The mag pouches, you lost me at those bungee. The whole bungee like mag pouch setup. Never a fan of that. But all right, so let's go ahead. Again, I like the repelling. Yeah, so this definitely looked like some older footage. So they have the the elbow pads, and yeah, I do like. Everyone always looks cooler when you have the repelling bags on the legs. I mean, obviously, you know, it's more effective that way when you're talking about kind of like the surprise aspect of everything. But it always looks really cool. Doing it on a ship as well. This is interesting. I mean, I guess if you're just proficient and you always practice using the kind of rope on the leg, you know, that's cool. For me, if I was sending my dudes, because I was like certified to send people down, you know, the rappel systems out of the helicopters, if I was sending them down onto a ship, I would feel more comfortable personally throwing the rope down and seeing where it landed, because like if I know it landed on the ship, I know like when they rappel down, they should theoretically land on the ship. But yeah, like you're trusting the pilot a little bit more to kind of maintain a solid hover when you can't necessarily see where exactly they're going to be going, depending on how the ship is moving or how the wind is blowing. So yeah, for me personally, it'd be nice to see the rope actually laying on the deck of the ship. But hey, I mean, again, it looks dope.
I would say that they could be best compared to SWAT teams that you'll find in the United States. SWAT
What the
being
fuck is this SWAT team? Oh my god, how old is this? This looks like an airsoft team or something. Oh, okay, yeah. What is this? This can't be real. LAPD SWAT. There ain't no way. They also look. It looks like airsoft, and also this. Yeah, okay.
an acronym for Special Weapons and Tactics. So
Couldn't find a
today,
better
I
picture.
want to introduce you to these faceless elite Lithuanians and the types of operations they conduct.
Nice.
So
The Ranger
let's get
green is
started.
sick. All right.
The Lithuanian Police Anti-Terrorist Operations Unit, known as ARAS, is said to have been founded in 1991, mainly for the purposes of suppressing organized crime groups. In
Yeah,
case you weren't
91.
aware of this more recent Lithuanian
I've never seen anyone hold the crank like that. Interesting. And then the Dragunov with the shoulder up. Oh, I've never seen a Dragunov with like a grip like that either. And then you got the little those pistols right there. Interesting. What an interesting gear loadouts with like the vehicle right back there. This dude looks like he's setting up for like a long range shot with the crank right here. I mean, hey, go for it. Okay, so 1991, he said. That's pretty recent.
history, the country throughout the 1990s was overrun with organized crime and gangsters. You can learn more about it
That
in one
photo
of my
looked
older
older,
videos describing how a freshly re-independent post-Soviet Lithuania was somewhat of a Wild West, where criminals ran much of the country.
Makes
ARAS
sense.
and his operations have somewhat expanded over the
What are we? Okay, so the Soviet Union collapses. Again, this doesn't look like 1991 picture. Why they make it? I mean, it just looks dated. It's not even like really a full color picture. I mean, this looks like it's from like the 60s or 70s or something. Okay, so interesting. They have like some uniforms at least, still looking very like Soviet. I don't know what's going on here. Like, this dude is flexing very hard. I mean, hey, I appreciate the gains. You got some pretty decent biceps there, but what's with the tattoos being blurred too? Why is everybody flexing so hard? And also, why are they doing like a thirst trap picture? And why the goggles down with the old helmets? They got Uzi. Very interesting. And then 2018, 2019. What a lineage right there.
past 30 years. According to its website, it manages special anti-terrorist and hostage release operations in Lithuania, and also carries out joint anti-terrorist operations with officials of the European Union and or associated Schengen member states. ARAS
Okay.
teams also search for and neutralize improvised explosive devices and military explosives that may be used for terrorist or criminal purposes. And finally, while it doesn't look like it's mentioned on their website
Whoa,
explicitly, it
crazy
does look
rifle.
like ARAS
Oh my God, what caliber does this thing fire? Looks like it fires like a 20 millimeter. This thing looks like it's meant to shoot down satellites or something.
is also used to combat drug trafficking. Although maybe this type
really?
of activity falls under operations to arrest armed and dangerous criminals.
Okay, so
ARAS
it's
says
kind of like
that
the
there are 6
DSI.
departments: a special intervention section, a first intervention section, a second intervention section, an explosives search and neutralization department, an information
Nice.
analysis and negotiations department, and finally a supply department. The second intervention section is stationed in Klaipėda, but it's not specified where the first section is stationed.
Okay, so
At
I
least
wonder
not
if they
in
have
this
like their
chart.
own like
Although my guess
intel
would be in or around Vilnius.
agency.
Specialist roles are
Plainclothes
listed as the
dudes.
following. You have assault specialists, marine operations, snipers, deminers, and negotiators. Interestingly, their pay was
yeah.
made public online and shows that in 2023, the head of ARAS was paid about 4,472 euros per month. If you're one of the 30 ARAS senior specialists, then you would have been paid about 2,247 euros per month.
Whoa, that doesn't seem. The head was making that much? That doesn't seem like a lot at all. Whoa, that's even. What happened to the euro? The heck? Okay, so. Okay, so the 4,471 euros is 4,610 USD. I find that very hard to believe, especially being like the head of this team. I mean, that's not a lot. That's probably how much like a sergeant or a staff sergeant makes here in like the US Army, which you don't need any special qualifiers or anything to make that much. But 22.47, there's no way. A month? I mean, maybe there's like other things like housing allowances or food allowances. Maybe that would make more sense. But even still, that seems like insanely low. I don't know if the cost of living in Lithuania is like very high, but that seems like
The
low.
17 chief specialists had a salary of about 2,644 euros. There are a few more categories, so I won't list them all, but you can pause the video to see them here. For what it's worth, pay seems pretty low for some of Lithuania's
MP5s.
most highly trained law enforcement
Yeah.
specialists, but I guess it's slightly better if these figures are after taxes, but I don't know for sure. Beyond the
Even
required
still,
training and
that's not very
exercises,
good.
there's probably a lot that ARAS does that goes unnoticed by
these
the
guys,
public.
I mean, look at
but
that.
here are a few examples of the types of threats where the team has been called out as a precaution. In 2012, ARAS explosives experts had to go to the Vilnius Central Post Office after a bomb threat was called in. The anonymous call said that one of the packages contained explosives. 2 years later, ARAS had to check out a suspicious envelope sent to the embassies of the Netherlands and Denmark. In 2012, ARAS
Damn,
divers were
that's
sent
scary.
to Lake Gelugio to investigate reports that there was possibly a tank somewhere under the water. Last year, there was an object
They
discovered in
investigated that?
Castle
Okay.
that resembled an explosive. Experts from the
The Russians are driving the tanks through the water. It's gonna come up on land.
military and ARAS were sent to check things out. And most recently, there was a false bomb threat targeting the border bridge between Lithuania and the Russian territory of Kaliningrad.
So a lot of
One
just
of the
bomb,
most dramatic
a lot
and
of bomb
consequential
threats.
incidents involving ARAS actually took place at the start of 2024 when a
Oh, damn.
9-year-old girl was kidnapped. The abduction made national news and had everyone in the country on the lookout for the
By a
missing girl.
42-year-old.
While the Lithuanian police service played
I
a
hope
big
she
part
was
in
okay.
finding the girl, ARAS joined in at the last stage of the operation to help free her and arrest the suspected kidnapper.
And then
According to
interrogate
LRT, one combat group of ARAS officers were on
excessively.
duty in Kaunas the entire time, ready to react. The commander of ARAS stated, all other officers, as well as negotiators, were ready to immediately go to the scene if needed. For example, if the kidnapper barricades himself, threatens with a weapon, resists with a weapon, in that case a plan would be introduced and those algorithms would be acted upon. So maybe
Algorithms.
you're one of the many Lithuanians
violence
watching
to violence.
these videos, and you might think you have what it takes to be an ARAS team member. Well, if you are interested, here's what the basic requirements are, according to the official webpage.
This is
First
gonna
and
be
perhaps
good.
most
Let's see.
obviously, you'll need to be a citizen of the Republic of Lithuania with fluency in the Lithuanian language.
That ain't me. Okay, so what's happening? Oh, what is got the? Is that a G36 or an MP5? Hard to tell. It looks like an MP5. Oh, they got the crank. Okay, again, like we're getting a little bit of like some of the older footage, some of the newer footage, but it still is like cool seeing what they're up to, especially like the maritime kind of
Lithuania
operations.
with fluency in the Lithuanian language. You'll need to be at least 18 years old with at least a secondary education, and you'll need to meet certain health requirements
Oh, dang,
and then
okay.
pass physical and psychological examinations. You need to have a quote.
Oh
in
my god, what are these weapons, dude? What the fuck? This is like an. What is this thing? Oh my gosh. This thing looks like it can, like. Look at that bolt. Maybe it's just. I think it's just like a forced perspective. This thing looks like it shoots like a 30 millimeter. It's like this thing is trying to penetrate like tank armor.
Quote, impeccable reputation and loyalty to the state of Lithuania, and cannot be found guilty of an international crime or be dismissed from the position of a statutory public servant.
Oh,
for
intentional
misconduct or
crime. I thought it was.
misdemeanor.
Like
So on one
international,
hand,
that's
I don't
like
think they're much different
pretty
from
easy
other
to
special
meet.
tactical units around the world, but in Lithuania, they definitely stand out as perhaps the most elite law enforcement professionals in the country. Again, unless you're part of the team or in law enforcement yourself, let's hope you never have to be in a situation that needs ARAS to be called out.
I wonder how
So,
big
did
their
you know
team
about
is.
ARAS before watching this video? Let me know by leaving a comment. Or the
Nope. Okay, so I wonder if this is like their whole team here. I mean, if so, it's pretty freaking small. I still like how they're rocking MP5s. The MP5 is so insane how that's such like a timeless firearm. I mean, I have an MP5 now. I have a couple actually. One's a 22, so it's kind of fake. But my actual MP5, oh my god, it's so much fun, and it's like stupid reliable, stupid accurate. I'm just gonna go on my soapbox about the MP5, but it's crazy how like even now police units and stuff are still rocking it because it's just such a solid firearm. Yeah, so it seems like a pretty small team. I kind of wonder. I like how this dude has his hand up, both hands up. It looks like. I kind of wonder like if they're being called on for other things that don't necessarily make like national headlines, maybe more like secretive stuff. But again, I do kind of wonder where the separation is between like the military being used versus like the police, because we've seen like Lithuanian special forces as well. But again, when you're talking about inside the country, I'd imagine the police would probably just handle it. But Cool. I wonder, that's a pretty cool looking flag too. I wonder how old that is. Okay, very, very interesting police unit. It's definitely like one of the more nuanced police units. It's hard to tell, like, with the budget, if those paychecks were accurate, maybe their budget really isn't like insanely high. Again, we don't know how big the actual force is, but if it is like kind of what we saw at the end, it makes sense to be like a smaller unit. Maybe they just don't get as much funding, especially like looking at the articles, they weren't called upon too much. Again, which is why I'm wondering, there's probably a lot of instances where they were kind of activated, didn't necessarily need to respond, or at least it didn't make like these headlines. But it is interesting to kind of see like how much they're being utilized, and again, what kind of goes into it, because he went over the requirements, but it wasn't like crazy in depth. I mean, like a physical psychological assessment could mean really anything. Like looking at the gear itself, everything looked pretty modern, pretty like on point. Everything looked, the gear itself looked pretty well funded. But again, I wonder how much kind of versus like utility and kind of like, the gateway to actually get into the team, weighing that with the budget and funding. So I don't know, maybe the paychecks were accurate, but again, it's kind of dependent on the cost of living. I mean, even here, Europe, I imagine the cost of living fluctuates like crazy. But even here in the U.S., the cost of living is pretty, it fluctuates a lot. Here in Washington, it's very different from like, Georgia and stuff. So I guess it's kind of hard to tell and appreciate like what that actually means, or if that's like a good paycheck. Maybe you guys can shed some light on that, especially if you live in Lithuania, if that looks like a competitive salary. But if that was a salary for me, I'd be like, depending on how, what it takes to actually get in, might not even seem like worth it to me to try and be on this team. I mean, it seems like a pretty cool gig nonetheless, especially being like reactionary. But I mean, that makes it kind of nice. So you don't necessarily need to get paid as much if you kind of just like your job. Like my CQB team that I was on, it wasn't necessarily like gatekeeping. Like I think they were pretty, open-minded and generally just picked like the best people for the job based off of the selection process and whatnot, and the schoolhouse. But I think with all that in mind, it was still an awesome job to be a part of. Very kind of similar in some ways, like kind of like a reactionary special tactics team, with a few specialties as far as like breaching and assaulters, designated marksmen. So I remember that being like, that will almost always be like my favorite job in the military. So I can appreciate being in a team like that, or being a part of a team like this, and just having that job satisfaction like every day. But yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think. If there's anything that stood out that I can't necessarily like, comment on too much, especially not being in Lithuania or being a part of this like special kind of police units team, or having that kind of background, let me know if you guys can kind of shed some light or give us some information that'll add some context to the video. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, definitely consider liking and subscribing and commenting. I appreciate you guys, and I will keep the videos coming. I do have a move coming up, and I'll try and give you guys like a heads up of when there's going to be like more spacing in between videos, or if there's going to be a gap. I'll try and give you guys a heads up. But that is it for this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.